Volume 3. Chapter 1. All encounters in the world are for a reunion after a long separation. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 1. All encounters in the world are for a reunion after a long separation. By Lien remembers clearly. The joint trial organized by the 10,000 Immortals League is the first major event in the Battle of the Gods. This game is close to some traditional Chinese martial arts games in the system. It can be basically divided into two modules. The sect's internal and the bigger external map. The former is mainly to do bad things that the players like, while the latter is used to improve the strength of the game protagonist. Martial Sister by Lien, and to trigger some branch plots. In the game's later stages, it is also responsible for promoting the main plot. However, with the emergence of the system, Bai Lian doesn't have to go to the secret realms to rob the cultivation resources. Recently, she has been wandering around, and her basic skills have increased significantly. Her hard skills, soft skills, and light skills have all exceeded 200 points, and her focus has reached 241 points. With the dirt-free sword and Liu Taoist robe, Bai Lian can compete with any nascent soul stage cultivator. Although we can't compete for the first place, we can also get into the first group among all the disciples who participated in the trial. This makes Bai Lian feel confident. In the game, Martial Sister Bai Lian was selected as the team leader, and in several endings, she died in the trial because she exposed her real strength. Yeah. Now the times have changed. Elder Martial Sister Bai Lian is no longer a rookie that can be bullied by anyone. After growing in strength, Bai Lian set her eyes on the Jade Rabbit. She was going to duel with the Jade Rabbit, and let it completely worship the wise and powerful Martial Sister Bai Lian. But after watching the rabbit carefully for half a day, Bai Lian muttered. She found an amazing fact: the Jade Rabbit is getting bigger. After eating her grass for 4 months, the Jade Rabbit's body size is 1.2 times that of the original. This is growth. For demonic beasts, growth means strength. 4 months ago the Jade Rabbit could kill 2 tiger demons with a gust of wind. Now it is not impossible for it to kill a nascent soul stage cultivator with another gust of wind. After touching the Jade Rabbit's belly, Bai Lian gave up her intention to compete with it. She didn't want the duel to evolve into a one-sided beating of her. Bai Lian refocused on the joint trial. She tried her best to recall the plot of the event. Finally, Bai Lian came to a conclusion: I'm sorry for being born a pervert, because she was not interested in these things. She didn't read the conversation at all. In this case, it is obviously very difficult to figure out the story of the game. Thanks to the poor optimization of the Battle of the Gods, there will be a loading screen every time you change the map, and some game tips will be shown on the loading screen. Bai Lian sorted out some useful information. First of all, it is certain that the scale of this trial is different from that in the past. After all, Xiao Jin's, Su Yue and other protagonists are going to participate. If there were no special plots, what can these protagonists do to show themselves off? Then there is the real purpose of the trial. If Bai Lian remembers correctly, they have to deal with the demon sect. The people in the so-called demon sect are not the ones who practice the demonic cultivation methods, but the ones who study the methods of evil and heresy and commit unscrupulous deeds. This kind of judgment standard is worth a positive review. The last important piece of information is that a disciple of the Duxian sect was killed and possessed by a demon in the trial, and became the villain who tortured and killed Martial Sister Bai Lian many times in the game. Bai Lian remembers very clearly that the disciple's name is Xuanhuan. He is the most famous person of the Qingming Peak. He looks like a handsome man, but in fact, he only likes cultivation, and women are like dust in his eyes. In the game setting, Xuanhuan has the blood of foreign demons, which is also an important reason why he is targeted by foreign demons. December. Winter is coming. Thousands of miles of rivers and mountains were covered with snow looking like silver plains. The snow stopped this day, and the sky was overcast for thousands of miles. Bai Lian got up early in the morning. When she stuffed all kinds of flags, talismans, medical pills, and secret medicines into the storage pendant on her chest, the two younger martial sisters and the jade rabbit were already waiting at the door. Let's go. Bai Lian looked at the energetic martial sisters. Recently, Xiao Jin's and Su Youwei's immense growth speed was very gratifying. Xiao Jin's followed behind Bai Lian and looked very happy. It's my first time taking a ride on the Aurora boat. I heard that the Aurora boat is as big as a hill. Hick. Su Youwei curled her mouth. She once took the flying magic tools, which can cross the central ruined sea. It is bigger than a city and is towed by flying dragons with great momentum. Bai Lian touched Su Youwei's head. Although it's a trial, you don't have to be so nervous. Su Youwei immediately smiled sweetly. At the foot of the Qiongming Peak, the guide sent by the Yunluo Peak is already waiting here. He respectfully said, Martial Sister Bai Lian, Elder Gaoi asked me to meet you. Bai Lian nodded, please lead the way ahead. The guide was excited. Elder Martial Sister Bai Lian was really as amiable as the rumors. Those senior brothers and sisters never said, please, to him. He decided to publicize Martial Sister Bai Lian from now on. Led by the guide, Bai Lian came to the port where the Aurora boat docked. The huge flying magic tool, which is more than 100 feet long, floated quietly in the rolling clouds, and many disciples are looking at it foolishly. Boating in the clouds is always charming. Even when Bai Lian saw it, she couldn't help staring at it for a moment. If this ship was hers, how many spirit stones would she be able to obtain by selling it? Elder Martial Sister Bai Lian. The greeting in her ear made Bai Lian come to her senses. She quickly greeted the elders standing to one side. Now that we are all here, let me tell you something about this trial. Gaoi said. Bai Lian silently counted the people. Plus her there is 4 leaders. Shouldn't there be only 3 leaders? Gaoi said, Gong Juren, Xuanhuan, Cheniji, you are the leaders of this trial. What about me? Bai Lian was stunned. Bai Lian is not needed to participate in the trial. You can treat her like a deacon. For a moment, 3 shocked eyes fell on Bai Lian at the same time. Bai Lian has no time to pay attention to other people's reactions. Task 1, Elder Gao, you'd better hire someone else. Reward. Water Spirit Special Effect, Task 2. Accept the arrangement of the sect, reward. Water Spirit Special Effect, What the hell is this mission? Bai Lian was shocked silly. The rewards of Task 1 and Task 2 are the same, and the rewards are all special effects. Does the system want her to die quickly? Bai Lian only wants to cry. The Zhuyan Peak. When Ren Yelu, who had packed up, came out of the room with a smile. She looked up at the overcast sky and felt that the entangled clouds were very similar to Martial Sister Bai Lian's flawless face. It's another trial day. After 2 years, she must let Martial Sister Bai Lian see her progress this time. The Tianji sect. Xia Qingqing stepped on the eagle's back with her sword in her hands. Compared to 2 months ago, her temperament has been completely different, calm with a bit of coldness. She is the best of the disciples of the Duxian sect. She will definitely be coming to the test. Xia Qingqing's eyes flickered, thinking something. The Biluo sect. Shen Xiangling, the saint who was in charge of the trial, leaned against the window. There were crowds outside the window. It has been 3 months since the trip to the Duxian sect. Even so, Bai Lian's face at the bottom of her heart is not blurred at all. Alas! Blame that sentence. Shen Xiangling propped her cheek, and her eyes gradually lost focus. Bai Lian, my heroine. All encounters in the world are for a reunion after a long separation. Volume 3. Chapter 2. Bai Lian is made of water. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Bai Lian is made of water. Between clouds and mist. When everyone was shocked, Bai Lian said with an embarrassed face. I don't want to be too modest, but I'm really not suitable to be a deacon. Elder Gaoi, you'd better find someone else. What did you say? Bai Lian explained, this trial is very important. How can an inexperienced person like me occupy the position of deacon? Elder Gaoi shook her head, Bai Lian, you're wrong. No one is born with experience. After the first time, there will be countless times behind. Experience is slowly honed. I know what you're worried about. Gaoi smiled, you don't have to worry. Maybe you didn't notice it yourself. In fact, you have already experienced this. Ah. Bai Lian was stunned for a moment. Gong Juren and the others all stretched their necks curiously. Xiao Jins and Su Yue, who huddled behind Bai Lian from left to right, also poked their heads out in confusion. Gaoi sighed, aren't you always taking care of the Qiongming Peak? It shows that you are very talented in this respect. Look, you taught your .2 younger martial sisters so well. That makes sense. Xiao Jin's and Su Yue's eyes lit up. If you must choose a disciple to serve as a deacon temporarily, who can be better than martial sister Bai Lian? Even Bai Lian was almost convinced. No, no, no. Now is not the time to be complacent. She forced a smile and said, Elder Gaoi, there are few people in the Qiongming Peak. This experience can't be counted. I have to learn from Elder Gao. She managed to cope. From the perspective of task reward, no matter what she said, this decision cannot be revoked. Task completed. Water Spirit special effect is delivered. Gaoi nodded gently. Neither arrogant nor impetuous, modest and moderate. She is worthy of being praised by everyone. If everyone in the Duxian sect learns from Bai Lian, after a generation or two, the Duxian sect will surely become the leader of the 10,000 Immortals League. But Gaoi shook his head secretly. He knew that it could only be a good wish. That everyone respects martial sister Bai Lian, but no one can learn from martial sister Bai Lian. Because everyone is smart. While giving consideration to the cultivation base, martial sister Bai Lian should not only manage the Qiongming Peak well, but also have a good relationship with everyone in the Duxian sect. The efforts she has made are enough to stop most people from imitating her. In the words of some disciples, elder martial sister Bai Lian is a real master of time management. I even thought that martial sister Bai Lian had 40.8 hours a day. Let it go. Gaoi smiled and waved his hand, you all go to your own business. There's still a while before we start. Yes. After saying goodbye to the elders, Gong Juren and others came to greet Bai Lian. However, no one came forward to question Bai Lian, which saved Bai Lian a lot of trouble. However, if it was her martial sister who sat in this position, someone would jump out and question her. Xiao Jins excitedly said, Elder martial sister is great. Of course, martial sister Bai Lian is great. Su Yue pouted. There were some worries in her heart. Elder martial sister Bai Lian didn't participate in the trial. Doesn't it mean that martial sister Bai Lian can't be with her after the trial officially begins? Su Yue suddenly felt that the trial was boring. I don't want to participate in the trial now. Half an hour later. The propaganda before the trial officially ended. Under the guidance of the elders and deacons, the disciples who went to participate in the trial lined up and set foot on the Aurora boat. The compass is slightly bright, and the wind wheel turns sharply. Many magic arrays were driven by spirit chi, and the Aurora boat slowly rose to mid-air in the cheers. The mountains and clouds sank. After drilling through the thick clouds, the bright light sprinkled from the top and fell on their heads, glittering and towering. How awesome! Those disciples who flew so high for the first time exclaimed at the magnificence of the red sun. Bai Lian took a look and withdrew her eyes. She doesn't have time to enjoy any bullshit scenery. Now she just wants to try the use of that water spirit special effect. She was already very careful, but she still encountered many obstacles on the way back to her room. Hello, Martial Sister Bai Lian. Elder Martial Sister Bai Lian, I met a bottleneck. Can you give me some advice? My room is quite large. Elder Martial Sister Bai Lian, I have prepared black tea. Elder Martial Sister Bai Lian, I'm a little itchy. Bai Lian spent a long time before finally being able to return to her room. She wiped the sweat on her forehead. It was torture. The aunts and sisters nowadays are so crazy that they opened their doors to her without hesitation. Bai Lian even wondered if they had been poisoned by the secret medicine she carried. The most disgusting thing is that she couldn't earn skill points from them. After sighing, Bai Lian sat by the bed lazily. On the way back, she also saw a group of female disciples sneaking together to discuss. Elder Martial Sister Bai Lian is really good. Impossible, how can Martial Sister Bai Lian be inferior to her? I want to hear Martial Sister Bai Lian's stories more. When she opened her divine sense, she found that those female disciples were discussing the plot of a pornographic novel, with her as the protagonist and many are 18 pictures in it. At the corner of Bai Lian's eye was almost twisted to an angry. The moral degeneration of the world is getting worse day by day. After sighing, Bai Lian began to experiment with the water spirit special effect she just obtained. Compared with the Tao Halo special effect, this new special effect is less valuable, but it is more gorgeous. As long as she ran the cultivation method, there would be continuous colored water waves around her body, as if all the nearby spirit chi was liquefied. In the words of ancient books, Bai Lian is made of water. In the cultivation world, this was a very terrible constitution. How could the efficiency of inhaling and drinking be compared? It was said that a cultivator with the water spirit spiritual root could cultivate 5 times faster than one with a top-grade water type spiritual root. But it's all fake. Special effects are special effects. Bai Lian found that her cultivation speed didn't accelerate at all. Damn, why is it? In this way, doesn't it completely substantiate the rumors that my cultivation speed is ridiculously fast? Bai Lian stared at the splashes in her palm. Just now, she heard someone say that she was only a step away from reaching the soul-changing stage. At this time, if she ran out to deny it, everyone would probably think that she was modest. Don't be modest, Martial Sister Bai Lian. Sometimes you have to be tough. Damn system. Bai Lian stood up angrily. As soon as she opened the door she saw the jade rabbit crawling on the ground looking at her in admiration and awe. Afraid. Bai Lian retreated sadly. It's hopeless. She lay down in bed, intending to sleep until the Aurora boat reached its destination. Volume 3. Chapter 3. Overflowing Talent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Overflowing Talent. In the crowded sightseeing cabin on the lower second floor of the Aurora boat. You may not believe it. So you say, but how can you know I won't believe it if you don't say it? I got lucky these 2 days. You know that I have a middle-class spiritual root. I can break through to the foundation establishment stage at this age only by relying on my family's money. In fact, I'm also working hard. Cough, don't say this. Since I came to the Aurora boat, I suddenly found that my cultivation speed has reached 3 times as fast as usual. 3 times, you heard me right, I will be able to break through to the later stage of the foundation establishment stage in a few days. Really? I don't believe it. I don't care. You'll be thrown away by me after a few days. Similar conversations took place in several places on the Aurora boat. Some people shut up immediately after getting benefits, for fear that their luck would be robbed. You're stupid. A disciple shook his feather fan with disdain on his face. Don't you find that people who meet luck live close together? It's true. Such large flying magic tools will inevitably have a central magic array, and the number of spirit stones consumed during the operation of this magic array is very amazing. Those people must live near the central magic array, and it is normal to increase the cultivation speed by 2 or 3 times. The audience exclaimed one after another. Listening to your words is better than reading for 10 years. I know today that human wisdom cannot be generalized. Congratulations to the group of idiots. The disciple shook his head and said, "There's nothing to envy. This means that the spirit chi of the magic array leaked. There must be an accident. Isn't that Elder Gaui? It seems that I guessed right. Elder Gaui must be ready to repair the magic array." The crowd followed his line of sight. Elder Gaui in a white robe appeared at the corner. His eyebrows and eyes used to be a little sad, but his worry was relieved after hearing what the disciple said. Can it be explained like this? It's amazing. After investigation, Gaui had found that the root cause of the raising spirit chi was Bai Lian. Originally, the rumor that Bai Lian is a natural saint attracted many people's attention to her. If other sects knew that staying with Bai Lian could increase the speed of cultivation, they would definitely find a way to catch her for their sects and use her as a tool for gathering spirit chi. With Bai Lian's lifespan, it's no problem to use her for 1,000 years. Gaui pulled his face and said, "Don't worry, the magic array is just having a small problem. As long as we replace a formation flag and we can solve the problem." The disciples nodded repeatedly. The disciple's feather fan waved even more vigorously. "I'm really smart. I'm a man with the wisdom of God." Gaui waved again. "Tomorrow the Aurora boat will be able to fly to the destination. This test is a good opportunity to show your past achievements. You have to perform well. Don't let yourself down." "Yes." Gaui smiled and turned away. A moment later, he came to Bai Lian's door. The water-typed spirit chi in the air is so thick that it is about to flow. Except for the fire-type spirit chi, other types of spirit chi are also 2 or 3 times stronger than normal. This talent is really terrible. It's almost overflowing. Bai Lian didn't show this qualification before. It must be a new ability unlocked after the awakening of her saint body. When the saint comes, there is hope. When the saint comes, the Duxian sect is saved. For the first time, Gaui felt that the catastrophe predicted by the Eastern Divine Land was not particularly terrible. Dong dong dong. He knocked on Bai Lian's door. "It's me. Elder Gaui." Bai Lian immediately got up. Idle and bored, she was playing with water in bed. The jade rabbit quietly laid beside her, with stars in its eyes like it was drunk. Bai Lian opened the door. "Elder Gaui, what's your instructions?" Gaui said what he was worried about. Hearing that, Bai Lian's face showed an annoyed smile. "The system, can't you do something good?" The Tau Halo special effect that was rewarded before was like this. Everyone else could get insight from it, but she looked at her own feet for a long time and didn't understand anything from it. Now the water spirit special effect is still the same. Only she herself can't get any benefit from it. She looked at the task options that appeared in front of her eyes. Task 1, are you telling me what to do? Reward. Thunder Breath. Task 2, I see, Elder Gaui. Reward. Light Skill +1, Bai Lian said helplessly, I see, Elder Gaui. I just want to improve my strength as much as possible before arriving at the test site. I didn't expect to cause such a big disturbance. Gaui nodded his head in relief, it's okay if you understand. He wanted to turn around and leave like this, but after listening to Bai Lian's words, he felt that his behavior had dampened Bai Lian's enthusiasm too much. Well. Gaui took out a bottle from his storage ring. This bottle of jade purification pills is my compensation for you. Is there such a good thing? Bai Lian was stunned when she took the jade bottle from Gaui. Jade Purification Pill is a medical pill used for cultivation. It's useful even to the nascent soul stages cultivators, not to mention her, a cultivator at the early stage of the golden core stage. After eating this bottle of pills, she will definitely break through to the middle stage of the golden core stage. Elder Gaoi is a good man. Bai Lian was moved. She sent Elder Gaoi away with enthusiasm. However, Bai Lian was not in a hurry to swallow the pills. As long as she ran the cultivation method, there would be a special effect. It was better to wait until they got off the Aurora boat. Half an hour later, the news that the formation flags of the central magic array were damaged, resulting in the leak of spirit chi, spread all over the Aurora boat. The disciples who had enjoyed the welfare beat their legs in chagrin. If I had known this, I wouldn't publicize it everywhere. Now the formation flags have been repaired. Disciples who had not enjoyed welfare were also very upset. Why was I only told of this news after the leak was blocked? It's better not to tell me. In the noise, the Aurora boat crossed the sea of clouds and arrived at its destination at noon the next day. Somewhere on Yuheng Mountain in the north of the Eastern Divine Land. 2 peaks and 1 valley. In the open space in the valley, countless people looked up at the slowly falling Aurora boat. Including the saint and Xia Qingqing who have already arrived in the valley. She finally came. The saint's eyes twinkled with light of unknown significance. The Biluo sect disciples who followed her whispered. We need to pay attention to only a few people in the Duxian sect, among which the number 1 enemy is Bai Lian of the Qiongming Peak. I don't know who is better. Our saint or Bai Lian? Our saint, of course. When Bai Lian walked in front of our saint didn't even look at her. While talking, the Aurora boat had stopped on the ground, and one after another disciples of the Duxian sect came down from the boat. After seeing Xiao Jin's mixed in the crowd, the saint left other disciples of the Biluo sect and ran over. Miss Xiao, where has your elder martial sister gone? Sister Su, why isn't your elder martial sister with you? 2 sounds sounded at the same time. The saint subconsciously looked back and met Xia Qingqing's sight. Suddenly, a sense of crisis raised in her heart. Volume 3. Chapter 4. People in the Demon Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. People in the Demon Sect. Who is this? When they saw Xia Qingqing, Xiao Jin's and the saint had the same thought at the same time. Of course. Su Yue and Xia Qingqing had the same idea too when they saw the saint. This strange woman doesn't look like a good woman. Xia Qingqing subconsciously leaned on Su Yue. Their relationship should be harmonious, right? After all, they experienced so many things together before. But Su Yue doesn't think so. Except for her, everyone here who has ideas about martial sister Bai Lian are her enemies. She moved aside in disgust and distanced herself from Xia Qingqing. Xia Qingqing. Shouldn't we be comrades in arms? Su Yue said coldly, martial sister Bai Lian won't participate in this test. Ah. The saint and Xia Qingqing were both stunned at the same time. How could it be? Isn't she the leader of the disciples of the Duxian sect? Why didn't she come to this test? Xiao Jin's, who was listening, immediately understood the intention of the third martial sister. She wants to take the opportunity to drive these 2 girls away, so that they won't pester martial sister Bai Lian at any time. Good. Xiao Jin's nodded secretly. Although she and the third martial sister have never been friends, at this time of crisis, in the face of invading foreign enemies, they must abandon their prejudices and temporarily unite. Xiao Jin said, the third younger martial sister is right. It was arranged by the sect elder. Elder martial sister Bai Lian really will not participate in this trial. She was quite sure that she had not lied. Even if the saint found martial sister Bai Lian at that time, it was not her fault. She only said that martial sister Bai Lian won't participate in the trial, but didn't say that martial sister Bai Lian didn't come. The saint opened her mouth and was interrupted by Xiao Jin's before she could say anything. Saint, I know what you want to ask, but we don't know where martial sister Bai Lian is now. The saint and Xia Qingqing showed disappointment on their faces. They had great expectations before coming to the trial. The saint even simulated what she should say in front of Bai Lian countless times in her mind. That's it. She is not even here. Her previous preparation is useless. The saint forced a smile. After wishing Xiao Jin an excellent performance, she said, I'm busy. I'll leave first. Xia Qingqing also left with a lonely face. Xiao Jin and Su Yue looked at each other. Bah! Bah! The two separated immediately. The first cooperation broke down quickly. Bai Lian, who was far away on the Aurora boat, saw this scene. She was going to come down to say hello. After all, martial sister Bai Lian is an amiable person. But the task published by the system made her give up this plan. Task 1. Enthusiastically catch up with Shen Xiangling and Xia Qingqing, reward. Flying Royal Talisman, Task 2. Say to Shen Xiangling and Xia Qingqing, don't come to me again. Reward. Insight Mantra, Task 3. Pretend that you don't see anything, reward. Soft Skill plus 2, a martial sister is already difficult to deal with. How can these two get together? After thinking for a while, Bai Lian chose Task 3 decisively. Task completed, Task Reward, Soft Skill plus 2, Elder Martial Sister Bai Lian, Elder Gaoi asked me to tell you to go to the council hall. At this time, Xuanhuan came out of the cabin and called softly. Thanks for reminding. Bai Lian nodded. The girl named Xuanhuan wore a green and white Taoist robe and a pair of jade bracelets on her slender wrist, which seemed to be magic tools with special effects. Her green hair was gathered up, and a blue hairpin shaped like a bird feather was inserted obliquely. Her appearance looks like the legendary Xuanhuan divine bird. However, Bai Lian knows that Xuanhuan is not a descendant of the Xuanhuan divine bird. She only pretends to dress up like Xuanhuan because she simply likes Xuanhuan. Led by Xuanhuan, Bai Lian came to the council hall. Although she was named as a deacon, she didn't actually assume any responsibilities. This time, she came to the meeting for no reason. The representative of the 10,000 Immortals League told the purpose of the joint trial and the principle of reward distribution on the main seat. Yuheng Mountain has beautiful scenery and fertile soil, and many mortals live in it. But since 3 months ago, Yuheng Mountain and its surrounding areas have received more than a dozen reports of collective disappearances. The trial is divided into 2 stages. The first stage is to investigate the real reason for the collective disappearance. Since it is likely to involve people of the demon sects, all sects and factions let their powerful elders lead the teams. The second stage is a very traditional, explore the secret realm, trial. The disciples who get a high score in the first stage of the trial will have the opportunity to enter the secret realm managed by the 10,000 Immortals League to improve their strength. Bai Lian is not interested in the secret realm at all. She thinks it's even more boring than rubbing Jade Rabbit's head. But others don't think so. The trial rewards are very rich. Achieving excellent results means that the strength of the disciples of the sect has been greatly improved, and it can also enhance the reputation of the sect, so as to attract more talents at the next immortality promotion meeting. The discussion lasted for nearly an hour. After that, the identity card used to record the score was distributed to each disciple participating in the test. The trial officially begins. West side of the Yuheng Mountain. Somewhere in an inconspicuous house. The young master in a long black shirt sat alone under the tree and played chess by himself. Winter has arrived. In the chilly wind, the last yellow leaf on the dead tree fell on the chessboard. Child. Suddenly, a little boy in gray rushed in from outside. The young master frowned, dusted the yellow leaves away with his sleeve, and shouted, can't you see I'm playing chess? Don't be so rash. The young boy in gray looked sad. Child, the situation is urgent. Urgent. Yes, the 10,000 Immortals League's plan to enter the Yuheng Mountain may be detrimental to us. The Hall Master asked me to inform you that you should return quickly. Detrimental to us. The young master shook his head with a smile. You people, what's so urgent? Let's not say whether they can find me first. Even if they do you think that I can't beat them all? The young boy in gray showed a puzzled face. After all, they are the strongest disciples of the 10,000 Immortals League. The young master stood with his hand on his back. He looked at the dead tree in front of him. Strongest. They are just weaklings with bloated egos. For example, that Bai Lian, if she dares to stand in front of me, I will let her know how strong I am. I'm afraid she won't dare to come here. But you have only 2 fists, and they have so many people. The little boy in gray wanted to persuade him a few more words, and suddenly there was a sound of inquiry outside the door. Is anyone there? Who? The little boy in gray shouted. My name is Bai Lian. The young master's body stiffened. He looked around, and suddenly slapped the boy on the shoulder. Quickly, close the door. If she asks, you say you don't know me. The little boy in gray was going to say something, but the young master had slipped away. Volume 3. Chapter 5. Rebroadcast of a classic plot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Rebroadcast of a classic plot. Lord, I tell you, child has a problem with his brain. The little boy in gray looked at the empty yard, and his legs trembled involuntarily. I can't run at this time. If I want to survive, I can only rely on my superb acting skills. The little boy in gray walked to the gate of the yard. The lock bar on the door is still hanging, so he doesn't have to close it deliberately. What can I do for you? The woman outside the door asked. Where is your master? Master? What master? The little boy in gray pretended to be confused and said, there is no master here, only me. All right, stop pretending. A pale white arm was suddenly printed on the door. Patter. The iron lock was smashed like a cake. With a squeak, the gate was pushed open. The person who appeared in front of the little boy in gray was a woman in a light purple dress. It's big and long. The little boy in gray is familiar with that appearance. Miss C. The demon sex demon woman. Si Yunshang. This is not Bai Lian at all. Si Yunshang walked in from the door without hesitation. Why are you alone here? The little boy in gray smiled awkwardly. The young master's out on business. I heard his voice just now. It was because you pretended that you were Bai Lian and scared him away. But the little boy in gray didn't dare to tell the truth. Because there is something urgent. Urgent. Si Yunshang was puzzled when she saw Zhou Kai, the son of the White Tiger Hall of Huaxin sect, coming out of the West Wing. Oh, Miss C. Nice to meet you. Zhou Kai smiled and pointed to the chessboard under the tree. Sit. Si Yunshang sat down quietly on the stone bench. I just heard you talking about the Duxian sex Bai Lian outside the door. Well, this demon woman really did it on purpose. Zhou Kai was annoyed. But he endured it. It was definitely not because he knew that he was no match for Si Yunshang. Lack of forbearance in small matters upsets great plans. Zhou Kai glanced at Si Yunshang. If he hadn't been afraid of destroying the relationship between the Huaxin sect and the Lingshu sect, he would have blown this woman's head off, so that this woman could know how powerful his boxing is. Yes. Zhou Kai sighed. It was the 10,000 Immortals League that caused the trouble. I just received a letter from the White Tiger Hall when you entered the room, talking about this thing. Because of this, I didn't hear Miss C. My bad. Si Yunshang asked, how are you going to deal with it? Proceed with caution. Wouldn't it make us look too cowardly? Of course. Zhou Kai suddenly stood up, showing a look of righteous indignation. According to my temper, if that silly woman dares to face me, I will show her the power of my white tiger boxing. Finally, Zhou Kai sighed. Unfortunately, neither you or I are independent travelers. We cannot act according to our own temperament. Zhou Kai sat back on the stone bench and sighed. The young boy in gray was stunned. He couldn't help feeling ashamed. His poor acting skills are not worthy of lifting shoes for the young master. Just then, there was a knock on the door outside. Who? The little boy in gray shouted. I have something urgent. It's a female voice. What's urgent? Please come out and sign for the takeout. Takeout, what? Zhou Kai was stunned for a moment. He waved his hand, go and ask her to go away. The boy in gray trotted all the way, and a moment later he turned back. Master, the woman said that the things she sent were very important and must be handed over to you in person. Zhou Kai frowned tightly. He let go of his divine sense and scanned the woman. A cultivator at the qi refining stage. He glanced at Si Yunshang. Forget it, I'll see her myself. When Zhou Kai came to the door, he saw an ugly girl. The eye-catching things are the S under the corners of her left and right eyes, four of which are arched around her eyes, and her pupils are also an extremely rare shape. Who are you and what's going on here? Zhou Kai's voice revealed impatience. Behind him, Si Yunshang also looked over curiously. The girl replied, my name is Bai Lian. Zhou Kai stared at Bai Lian in front of him with no expression. That's it. Again. How dare you? Zhou Kai was very angry. Si Yunshang teased him in this way only half an hour ago. He didn't expect to meet the same thing again now. It's very funny. Do you think with more S on your face, you will be more powerful? Although Bai Lian has only one, the exquisiteness of her is completely overwhelming your fake 4S. Zhou Kaiki smiled angrily, give me the things quickly, don't procrastinate. Otherwise I can only let you taste my white tiger fist. Is he not afraid of me? Bai Lian was stunned for a moment. The reason why she is dressed like this is that she doesn't want to attract other people's attention. After all, she came out to find a hidden place to improve her cultivation base. She originally wanted to wipe the in the corner of her eyes directly with foundation make up, but unfortunately, this was extremely tenacious. Even if it was covered by make up, it would also emit a faint light. She could only draw a few more S on her face as a cover. On the way, Bai Lian suddenly thought of Zhou Kai. When she played the game, she pressed Ctrl all the way to skip most of the plot, but there were always some places in the game that could not be skipped. It was at this time that she learned about Zhou Kai's whereabouts. Bai Lian came here deliberately not to help the two younger martial sisters cheat. She mainly wanted to kill Zhou Kai in advance and reduce her own trouble. Bai Lian looked up at Zhou Kai and asked, are you Zhou Kai? That's right. Zhou Kai looked at her fearlessly. Bai Lian's eyes flashed with surprise. Zhou Kai in the game is a coward. I didn't expect him to be so brave in reality. It seems that I can't believe everything in the game. She nodded and said, that's right. You're the person I'm looking for. Zhou Kai cursed, what nonsense are you talking about? Take a punch from me. Bai Lian swung her fist and struck Zhou Kai's face. All this came too suddenly, and the speed displayed by Bai Lian was so fast that Zhou Kai couldn't see it clearly. Boom! With a bang, Zhou Kai completely fell into Bai Lian's control. Under the endless punches, he had no resistance at all. Si Yunshang only took a look and immediately ran away. It's impossible to help Zhou Kai, because she was no match for this strange girl. She can only run away as fast as possible. Si Yunshang ran at full speed. She ran for half an hour and was relieved after she was sure that the strange woman didn't catch up. Too dangerous. If she had opened the door at that time, she would be finished. Walking under the cliff, Si Yunshang looked bitter. She doesn't know whether Zhou Kai was killed or not. If he didn't die, he would certainly be angry with her. It's really unlucky. Suddenly, Si Yunshang stopped. An adventure. Her eyes widened. Less than 100 feet away from her, there were colorful waves on a plain stone. The intensity of spirit chi in that place made her eyes open wide with eagerness. Is this the so called, after surviving a great disaster, one is bound to have good fortune? Si Yunshang squatted down quickly. At this time, she must not relax her vigilance. There may be a demon beast next to the strange thing. Well, sure enough, there was an unusual rabbit. She slowly leaned over. P.S. The translation of Volume 7 is almost done. Volume 3. Chapter 6, Part 1. By Lien. Ah, I often beat her. 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. By Lien. Ah, I often beat her. 1. Among her peers, Si Yunshang is very strong. Even in the face of the ordinary nascent soul stage cultivators, she can ensure her own safety. Because of this, when she found that the strength of the rabbit demon was equal to her, she still planned to have a try. There is not much time left for her. She didn't want to be so timid that she did not even dare to give it a go. Otherwise, even if no one scolded her, she would still look down on herself. She can stand here after countless hours and attempts. If I can hit its ass with one blow. Si Yunshang glanced at the short dagger hidden in her sleeve. The breeze blows gently, and the cold awns flow. Maybe it can be stabbed into the rabbit's stomach in one step. She held her breath, even her heartbeat slowed to the point of stopping, and only spirit chi was still running through her meridians. Under the influence of the strange stone that emits colorful water rhyme, the flow of spirit chi around here is chaotic. Si Yunshang was confident that the rabbit demon could not detect her presence. Therefore, when the dark light wrapped around the dagger, Si Yunshang got up. Are you a, Hall? The sudden rabbit cry made Si Yunshang's body freeze. Exposed. Behind the bushes, Si Yunshang didn't move. A moment later, she saw the rabbit demon pointing its buttocks, and then ran quickly to the front. What's over there? Si Yunshang's eyes turned. Suddenly, she realized that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The rabbit demon guarding the stone left. Isn't this the time for her to do whatever she wants? Ha 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 ha. Si Yunshang's smile gradually became wanton. No pain, no gain. If she left early, how could she wait for such an opportunity? Finally, she was also being favored by the heavens. Si Yunshang no longer hesitated. She stepped forward and turned into purple clouds. In a flash, she came to the strange stone. At this time, the rabbit demon had run off to somewhere. The spirit chi of the stone, as thick as water, refreshed Si Yunshang. She raised her right hand, pointed the storage ring at the strange stone, and whispered at the bottom of her heart. Get in. Get in. There was still no reaction. It seems that this strange stone that can automatically condense spirit chi is of such a high grade. It is impossible to put it into the storage ring without taking some time to refine it. Si Yunshang bit her teeth. There was no time to hesitate. The rabbit demon could return at any time. Thinking of this, Si Yunshang shook off the purple ribbon wrapped around her right wrist, rolled it up and pulled it, carried the stone that was 2 times her height, and ran out of the cliff. Is identical to, star. Omega. I will be rich, I will be rich. In this short time, Si Yunshang found that her golden core moved. It has a vague trend of expansion. The warm current washed her body. If this state continues, a white and fat nascent soul will be born in her body soon. Too strong. This strange stone must not be handed over to others. Si Yunxiang glanced back. She breathed a sigh of relief. The rabbit demon didn't seem to realize that the strange stone it guarded had been stolen. Si Yunxiang didn't dare to take it lightly. The strange stone keeps gathering spirit qi. Even if she ran far away, the rabbit demon could still catch up with the traces of the spirit qi. I have to find a way to seal this strange stone temporarily. Si Yunxiang was about to find an inconspicuous place to hide. At this moment, she suddenly found out that the rich spirit qi floating above her head seemed to have been moved into a hole, and all of a sudden, it leaked away. She stopped for a while, and the strange stone didn't continue to gather the spirit qi around it. Can this stone hear my heart? There are so many strange things happening today. Si Yunxiang raised her head, then she froze. One head. It's less than a foot from her nose. She could even feel the warm current flowing slowly from the upturned little nose, like a weak palm gently stroking her cheek. However, this scene is naturally nothing to Si Yunxiang, who is called the demon woman of the demon sect. If there were not 10s that suddenly came into her sight, she could calmly reach out and hold the girl that suddenly appeared, so that the girl could feel her own warmth. Damn, why are you carrying me? An angry voice sounded. It's too late for Si Yunxiang to throw the stone away. Bang! A fist fell on her eye socket, and she screamed and flew out. When she came back to her senses, the girl who had beaten Zhou Kai violently was already riding her. It's Bai Lian. A huge force was exerted on the waist, and Si Yunxiang found that she could not shake the girl at all even with her full strength. She tried to launch a fierce attack from below with magic. The girl held an ice butterfly and printed it on her lower abdomen. As if she had been stabbed by a needle. The sharp pain instantly dispersed her newly accumulated spirit qi. She can only use some instant spells such as fireballs, icicles, and so on, but these spells didn't cause any effect on the girl's body. Si Yunxiang was a little confused. She had no idea about what happened. Trap. No. Now is not the time to think about such things. She looked up and saw the girl raise her fist. Seeing that the fist was about to fall on her face, the girl stopped. Bai Lian triggered a new system task. Task 1. Kill Si Yunxiang, reward. An inferior spirit tool. Magic sound pot, task 2. Catch Si Yunxiang, reward. A bottle of secret medicine. Hallucinogenic holy water, task 3. Let Si Yunxiang go as if nothing happened, reward. Tea ceremony +1, if Si Yunxiang was just a random NPC, Bai Lian would not have had any impression of her. But who makes her a rideable character in the game? Although the number of her appearances is not many, there are nearly 10 CGs about her in the game. Bai Lian clearly remembers that one of her weaknesses is the caudal vertebrae. From the task reward, Si Yunxiang can't be killed. After all, she is the descendant of the Lingshu sect of the demon sect. She may have soul marks on her body, and as long as she is killed, the marks will be attached to the killer's body. But she was not willing to let Si Yunxiang go like this. She had let Si Yunxiang run away once. It's not easy for her to deliver herself to the door, how can she let her go so easily? Choose task 2. Bai Lian took out a prepared secret medicine from her chest and forced it into Si Yunxiang's mouth. Volume 3. Chapter 6, Part 2. Bai Lian. I often beat her, too. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Bai Lian. I often beat her, too. Si Yunxiang was frightened to find that her meridians were sealed. Her strength is not as good as Bai Lian, and there is no possibility for her to resist at this time. Bai Lian left Si Yunxiang, and was content. She figured it out. If Elder Gaoi hadn't lent her the hidden amulet before leaving, Si Yunshang probably wouldn't have run foolishly carrying the stone. Elder Gaoi is really a nice guy. She threw away the stone used to hide. Before the jade rabbit came, she could just interrogate Si Yunshang. Si Yunshang, the successor of the Lingshu sect. Bai Lian squinted and said to Si Yunshang, who was paralyzed on the ground like mud. Si Yunshang bit her teeth. She didn't want to see Bai Lian. If you don't answer my question, I can only use inhuman magic such as soul searching. Where did you hear that? Si Yunshang finally couldn't help asking. Bai Lian said nonsense, I heard it outside the door. Si Yunshang nodded silently. She knew it. Bai Lian's means of hiding is unique, otherwise she would not have been fooled by her. This woman is so treacherous. Obviously, she has caught up with her, and even pretended to be a strange stone to seduce her. Si Yunshang felt regretful now. If she had known this, she would not have gone to find Zhou Kai. If she had not gone to find Zhou Kai, there would not have been so much trouble. After a long time, Si Yunshang whispered, "What have you done with Zhou Kai?" Speaking of this, Bai Lian couldn't help being silent. Si Yunshang blurted out, "Did you let him escape?" Why are you asking this? No. Bai Lian shook her head. She felt that the force she used was already very little, but Zhou Kai's body was too weak. When she recovered, Zhou Kai had fallen to the ground with his eyes rolled up. She squeezed Zhou Kai's philtrum hard, told him not to die and quickly stand up to show her the power of his white tiger fist. But Zhou Kai just slowly raised his right hand and shouted from the bottom of his heart with a fine, inaudible voice, "Fuck you." After shouting, Zhou Kai's neck tilted and his hands hung. He died. Even his body began to turn cold. Life is really fragile. Bai Lian couldn't help but sigh as she looked at the yellow leaf that fell to the ground. Seeing that Si Yunshang was still staring at herself, she got out of her memory and waved her hand, "Don't worry, Zhou Kai is dead. He died quietly without any pain. That makes me feel even more worried, okay?" Si Yunshang sighed. "Are you from the 10,000 Immortals League?" Bai Lian's cheeks bulged. "Am I interrogating you or are you interrogating me?" She said unhappily, "That's right. You are. Don't ask, didn't I say it earlier? I'm Bai Lian of the Duxian sect." Bai Lian. You. Si Yunshang looked up and down at Bai Lian with strange eyes. How many Bai Lian are there in the Duxian sect? Of course, just one. Si Yunshang sneered, "Do you think I look like a fool? This problem." Bai Lian curled her lips and decided not to stimulate Si Yunshang for the time being. She is already very sensitive in this state. Who is Bai Lian of the Duxian sect? Si Yunshang said, "That's a heroine, a natural saint. Don't praise me so much, I'll be embarrassed. In what can you compare with Bai Lian? Bai Lian's appearance is as brilliant as the goddess of the Yaotai Hall. Look at yourself, so ordinary. And I heard that Bai Lian was born with a under her right eye. Well, you drew 10s for yourself. This clumsy imitation technique will not make people feel that you are good. Looking, instead it will make them feel disgusted." "Ah, well." Si Yunshang got up her courage. "Besides, Fairy Bai Lian looks as calm as water, but her heart is as hot as fire. When she sees injustice, she draws her sword to help. She is even willing to feed the demons with her own flesh and blood." "Really? Don't continue to praise me." Bai Lian waved her hands shyly. Most of the stories were told by Tong Yao and her attendants. After boasting, Si Yunshang pointed to Bai Lian and said, "Look at yourself. Rude, brutal, dirty, full of lies, insidious and cunning. What makes you think that you are like Fairy Bai Lian?" Bai Lian. "Ah." Si Yunshang sneered, "It's useless to discredit Fairy Bai Lian in front of me. I can see through your purpose at a glance. Bai Lian was speechless. After being scolded, she didn't know whether to be moved or sad. She whispered the question in her heart, are you really a demon woman? So what? If you are a demon woman, why do you praise Bai Lian? Si Yunshang said, although our Tao is different, it doesn't prevent me from appreciating Bai Lian's way of dealing with the world, but you. Bai Lian lowered her head in shame. Villains these days are so moral. Compared with Si Yunshang, she felt that she herself was more like a demon woman. Si Yunshang said, how dare you say you are Bai Lian now? Bai Lian opened her mouth. Okay. She now dared not admit that she was Bai Lian. Ah. Bai Lian sighed, you're right. I'm not Bai Lian, but I'm also a disciple of the Duxian sect, Duviko Si Yunshang said, if you are a disciple of the Duxian sect, you still pretend to use Fairy Bai Lian's identity outside like this, either you are hopelessly stupid, or you are jealous of Fairy Bai Lian and want to deliberately discredit her reputation. You're too vicious. Bai Lian squeezed out a smile, it's not as complicated as what you said. In fact, Bai Lian and I have a good relationship. We'll have a duel when we're free in the evening. You know, I'm 50.50 with her, and I often beat her. He tue. Si Yunshang sneered, although I can't use any spirit chi now, it doesn't mean that my divine sense is disabled. As far as I know, Fairy Bai Lian has already broken through to the nascent soul stage, but you are just a cultivator at the golden core stage. How could you beat Fairy Bai Lian? Yes, I'm not Bai Lian. My name is Chen Lu. Chen Lu, the martial sister of the Yunluo Peak. Are you satisfied? Is this Chen Lu also your enemy? Damn woman, you're pissing me off. Come on, it's time to take medicine. Bai Lian simply put a medical pill in Si Yunshang's mouth again. Under the effect of the medicine, Si Yunshang's body twitched a few times and fell into a deep sleep. Well. Bai Lian wiped the sweat on her forehead. The world was quiet again. She is worthy of being a demonic woman. Bai Lian came back to her senses. Si Yunshang must have deliberately provoked her. After a while, the jade rabbit, who was called by her to collect the seeds of spiritual herbs, caught up. Ha! Looking at Si Yunshang lying on the ground, the jade rabbit turned its ears in doubt. Let's go back to the Aurora boat. Ha! Hearing that it was time to go back, the jade rabbit immediately lost interest in Si Yunshang. Just a human woman. Elder martial sister Bai Lian has so many human women around, so there's nothing to pay attention to this woman. Bai Lian picked up Si Yunshang. She was stunned when she touched her body. Her divine sense found that Si Yunshang's body was extremely weak, not like a cultivator at the golden core stage at all. She was hurt before. With some surprise, Bai Lian had come to the Aurora boat. P.S. Volume 7, https://amzn.to/3uuhfr, has been published on Amazon. The translation of Volume 8 will be finished after about 10 days. Volume 3. Chapter 7. Little Son, Martial Sister Bai Lian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Little Son, Martial Sister Bai Lian. Bonfires lit up in all directions. The Aurora boat docked at the edge of the valley. When Bai Lian came out of the darkness holding Si Yunshang, she saw a group of women, a group of aggressive women. She could feel the surging pressure more than 10 feet away. This sense of heaviness made her feel that she was trudging through the water, and even the temperature of the surrounding air fell. This is not an illusion, nor is it a psychological effect. In front of Bai Lian, towards the left, a girl cultivating an ice cultivation method was surrounded by countless fine pieces of ice debris, like a girl made of snow wrapped in a pale storm shield. She is the culprit of the sudden drop in temperature. Judging from the clothes the girl is wearing, she should be a disciple of the Biluo sect. This group of grumpy women naturally divided into two factions, facing each other across a 2-person-wide path. It seems that this situation has been going on for a long time. Bai Lian was not surprised. This kind of thing is actually very common. Although everyone present here is a member of the 10,000 Immortals League, it's just a loose organization. It's common to have some disputes. These women have been very restrained since they haven't started a fight. Bai Lian decided to take a detour. If she is full of death around her body, then those women are full of trouble on their faces. Just as she turned around, a startling sound suddenly came from the confrontation crowd. The friend of the Duxian sect over there, please stay. I don't want to. In the world of cultivation, the person who says this is definitely not a good person. Bai Lian bowed her head and quickened her pace. But after all, there were many people on the opposite side. After walking out for hundreds of feet, she was stopped. She raised her head and looked confused. What can I do for you? One of the female cultivators in red pointed to Bai Lian and shouted, you are so rude. We have called you so many. Chongyi, don't lose etiquette. A melodious female voice came from the rear. When hearing this sound, Bai Lian suddenly felt a sense of crisis at the bottom of her heart. She turned stiffly. The person who appeared in her sight was indeed Shen Xiangling, the saint of the Biluo sect, while Xia Qingqing of the Tianji sect was standing next to her. Can it be said that the confrontation just now was between the Biluo sect and the Tianji sect? Bai Lian was confused. She found that Shen Xiangling and Xia Qingqing were looking at her with strange eyes, and glanced at Si Yunshang and the Jade Rabbit from time to time. Has my identity been exposed? In silence, Bai Lian saw new task options. Task 1. Confess your true identity before being found, reward. Soul Searching Charm, Task 2. Continue to act stupid, reward. Cooking +1, she decisively chose Task 2. Be frank and tell them my true identity. Nope. There must be trouble then. The saint took the lead and said, is this heroine the disciple of the Duxian sect? Bai Lian nodded, yes, I have something urgent now. Can you let me leave first? The saint is asking. Chongyi. Yes. The female cultivator named Chongyi retreated chagrinedly. Oh, there are troublemakers around the saint too. Xia Qingqing said, don't be afraid. We just want to ask you a few questions, Bai Lian said coyly, then ask. I'm in a hurry. I'm so sorry. Xia Qingqing folded her hands and smiled awkwardly. Bai Lian would think that she was Xia Qingqing's twin sister if she hadn't been able to smell her body fragrance. Alas! This calm is really a little strange. The saint pointed to the Jade Rabbit and said, if I remember correctly, it should be Fairy Bai Lian's pet. Why is it beside you? Xia Qingqing nodded hard. She was impressed by the Jade Rabbit's appearance when it was eating grass. Not long ago, after asking the disciples of the Duxian sect, she and the saint had learned that Bai Lian came to the Yuheng mountain as a temporary deacon although she didn't participate in the trial. Now the Jade Rabbit appears, indicating that Bai Lian is nearby. Bai Lian, who was stared at by more than a dozen eyes, was slightly flustered. After seeing Si Yunshang lying on the flying sword, she immediately had an idea. She blinked her eyes hard, as she started to tear up. The next moment, Bai Lian suddenly threw herself on Si Yunshang and shouted in a sad voice, Elder Martial Sister, I'm sorry for you. Ah, this. The saint was stunned. The female disciples of the Tianji sect nearby whispered. It's all because the saint of the Biluo sect is so fierce that she is scared to cry. I can see at a glance that this saint is not a good woman. After a long time, Bai Lian got up from Si Yunshang and wiped her wet eyes with her sleeve. Sorry, I'm not aiming at you. I just remembered what happened just now and couldn't help but. Sorry. The Jade Rabbit, Xia Qingqing asked tentatively, what happened just now? Bai Lian explained with red eyes, when I went out for a trial with my elder martial sister, I found that the disciples of the demon sect were doing bad things. It's all my fault. If I hadn't been too impulsive, how could my elder martial sister have become like this? Woo woo. The Jade Rabbit. This sentence instantly moved Xia Qingqing's heart. She recalled her experience in Grey Wind Town. At that time, she was as naive as this female disciple of the Duxian sect. If Bai Lian hadn't severely abused her, how could she wake up in self-blame? Alas! Xia Qingqing sighed, these are medical pills for healing. I don't know whether it is useful for your martial sister. Please take them as compensation. Bai Lian took the medicine bottle tremblingly. She bit her lip and said, thank you, martial sister. You are as kind as martial sister Bai Lian. How? Xia Qingqing scratched her cheek shyly. She found that the martial sister had no trauma, but she was extremely weak. She was probably poisoned. Bai Lian continued, fortunately, martial sister Bai Lian arrived in time, so that we could survive. For fear that we might encounter danger on the road, martial sister Bai Lian specially asked her spirit pet to send us back. I see. The saint sniffled. She just suspected that the girl in front of her was Bai Lian. She was so stupid. Not every cultivator with a in the corner of her eye is called Bai Lian. This female disciple is obviously an admirer of Bai Lian. You see, after she wiped her eyes hard, 2 S have deformed, which fully shows that the S on her face are painted. The saint felt guilty. Because of her selfishness, she delayed the time for the girl to treat her martial sister. How can such a person as she get close to Bai Lian, who is as warm as the little sun? I will be burned. The saint thought about it and finally took out all the medical pills she used for cultivation. I'm wrong, I don't expect you to forgive me, Bai Lian stuffed all the medicine bottles into her chest and said, thank you. I can understand your mood. Do you want to find martial sister Bai Lian? Elder martial sister Bai Lian chased the disciples of the demon sect all the way north. Now I don't know where she went. The saint pursed her mouth. She was forgiven. She felt even more ashamed at this thought. She can't compare with Bai Lian or the disciple of the Duxian sect in front of her. Chongyi bowed her head and walked up to Bai Lian, sorry, I shouldn't say that to you. Please punish me. Bai Lian wiped her eyes again, I have no wish to punish you. I just hope you can learn to think differently. As martial sister Bai Lian said, people always make mistakes. The important thing is not to apologize, but to correct mistakes. Chongyi stared at Bai Lian in a daze. The conspicuous S were deeply imprinted in her heart. Bai Lian. She suddenly understood why the saint cared so much about fairy Bai Lian. She glanced at Xia Qingqing and clenched her fists secretly. Don't worry, saint, we will help you drive this annoying woman away. Bai Lian wiped her tears and walked to the Aurora boat with her sword. She didn't forget to say, I'll inform you as soon as there is news from martial sister Bai Lian. The saint was in a complicated mood. In the end, thousands of words in her heart only turned into a thank you. A moment later, Bai Lian's figure disappeared into the night. Go back. The saint didn't bother to look at Xia Qingqing, and Xia Qingqing didn't want to talk to her either. The two girls snorted at each other then separated. Volume 3. Chapter 8. I'll earn medical pills outside to raise you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Volume 3. Chapter 8. I'll earn medical pills outside to raise you. Chapter 8. I'll earn medical pills outside to raise you. Communication between people is a very complex knowledge. Even if I explain it, you won't understand it. So I won't explain it to you in detail. Ha! The Jade Rabbit nodded quickly. It seemed that it didn't understand anything, but when it thought about it carefully, it felt that there were many places worth pondering in martial sister Bai Lian's words. Probably because its brain is not very smart, it can't understand the philosophy in martial sister Bai Lian's words. After licking the spiritual herbs handed over by martial sister Bai Lian, the jade rabbit agreed with Bai Lian's words. The saint and Xia Qingqing are very troublesome women, so we should try to stay away from them in the future. The jade rabbit has some very simple rabbit cognition. Elder martial sister Bai Lian gave it spiritual herbs every day, but the two troublesome women didn't give it a straw. Naturally, it knows who is good to it. It knows everything. Bai Lian returned to her room. Her initial plan was to hand over Si Yunshang to the sect, but when she came to the door of her room, 3 task options suddenly appeared in front of her. Task 1. Hand over Si Yunshang to the sect, reward. Twin Spirit Eyes, Task 2. Do nothing, reward. Secret Medicine. Wave after wave, Task 3. Let Si Yunshang go, reward. A foundation establishment pill. Bai Lian retreated from the door. Twin Spirit Eyes is a special physique, which is not particularly rare, but it is certainly no less valuable than an inferior spirit tool. Task 1 is obviously not what she can cope with now. After carefully analyzing the task options, Bai Lian could see that it was the safest way to let Si Yunshang go. As for why it is dangerous to let Si Yunshang, it is easy to understand. She has tortured Si Yunshang like this, she must have been pissed off in her heart. After thinking about it, Bai Lian decided to lock up Si Yunshang for the time being. Choose Task 2. Dong dong dong. At this time, there was a rhythmic knock outside the door. Elder martial sister. It's the voice of the second martial sister. Just in time. Bai Lian walked excitedly to the door. She was about to open the door when she suddenly remembered that a demon woman was lying on her bed. The key was that the clothes of this demon woman were quite exposed compared with others. It's better to hide her. Bai Lian walked back again. There are not many places in this room where she can hide a person, so she stuffed Si Yunshang under the bed. Bai Lian raised the bed, then the system task appeared again. Task 1. Hide Si Yunshang under the bed, reward. The spiritual herb. Falling branch grass, Task 2. Open the door directly, reward. Callus pill, this. Bai Lian decisively put down the bed, and a cold sweat ran down her forehead. The falling branch grass has the function of reshaping the flesh and is a very rare spiritual herb. Continue to choose Task 2. Here it is. Bai Lian opened the door and found her 2 younger martial sisters were standing at the door. Before she said anything, Xiao Jin's and Su Yuwei crowded in one after another. I didn't get anything today. Yes, those people of the demon sect all hide. Su Yuwei closed her mouth. Her eyes fell on Si Yunshang, who was unconscious. Sure enough. The eyes of the 2 younger martial sisters became sharp. Not long ago, they heard that elder martial sister Bai Lian came back with a strange woman. So the 2 immediately ran over. Haw! The jade rabbit shrank in the corner, shivering. Something's wrong. It felt a vague sense of killing intent circulating in the air. It was not until Bai Lian blocked the sight of the 2 younger martial sisters that the tense atmosphere was slightly relaxed. Bai Lian said, I thought you 2 weren't coming back today. Xiao Jin's fixed her eyes on Bai Lian. Even though she didn't sleep on elder martial sister Bai Lian's bed, this strange woman took the lead. Grievance. Su Yuwei was also silent. She believes that this honest martial sister Bai Lian is not the kind of person who will do bad things while they are not paying attention. But she can't control herself. Seeing Si Yunshang lying on martial sister Bai Lian's bed, she felt that her hands were about to move. Should I find a chance to kill this woman secretly? No, no. Su Yuwei shook her head secretly. Elder martial sister Bai Lian wants her to be a righteous person. How could she not live up to her expectations? Why don't I encourage the second martial sister to throw this strange woman down from the Aurora boat? At this time, Bai Lian stood up and quickly turned the topic aside. I was going to look for you. Look for us. That's right. Bai Lian took out all the medical pills she had just gotten, including the callus pills rewarded by the system. She had been worrying about where to get resources that could quickly improve the strength of her martial sisters, but she didn't expect Xia Qingqing and the saint to be so righteous. Of course, it must not be known to those two, otherwise, she will be in danger. This is callus pill, this is Xiang pill, this is 1 yuan qi refining pill, this is. Take them yourself. Bai Lian evenly divided the bottles and cans in her hand into 2 parts and handed them to Xiao Jin's and Su Yue respectively. These medical pills are enough for you to break through to the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Xiao Jin's asked dumbly, Elder Martial Sister, where did you get these medical pills? If she remembers correctly, the contribution value of the Qiuming peak is very low, so the number of medical pills distributed every month is much less than that of other peaks. Did Elder Martial Sister Bai Lian rob the medical pills pavilion? Bai Lian smiled awkwardly. Of course, she wouldn't tell them the truth. She answered perfunctorily, they are the medical pills I saved. Anyway, I don't need them now, so I'd better give them all to you. I have to remind you, don't forget to lay a solid foundation to pursue rapid improvement, otherwise, you will suffer a heavy loss when facing heavenly tribulation. I can help you with other things, but I can't help you get through your heavenly tribulation. They are the medical pills saved by Martial Sister Bai Lian. The second martial sister and the third martial sister were stunned at the same time. It seems that something has been touched at the bottom of their heart, and it seems that something is about to burst out. Xiao Jin's held back. No, she can't. Elder martial sister. Don't worry. Just come to me when you need more pills. Xiao Jin's couldn't speak. Elder martial sister Bai Lian is always like this. All she can do is try her best to repay her expectations. Seeing that Su Yue kept silent, Bai Lian reached out and touched her head again. Don't think about anything. We are a family. Well. Su Yue lowered her head. She only felt that martial sister Bai Lian became infinitely tall in her eyes. This is a concern she had never experienced in her previous life. The oppressive atmosphere in the room was finally dispelled. Bai Lian breathed a sigh of relief. She had figured it out for a long time. If she tried her best to explain the origin of Si Yunshang to the younger martial sisters, even if they accepted her explanation, they might still feel uncomfortable. It's better to switch off the topic first and explain slowly after they calm down. Thanks to Xia Qingqing and the saint, these 2 rich women. Alas! It's good to live off a woman. No, 2 girls. But after seeing the smiles on the younger martial sisters' faces, Bai Lian quickly gave up the idea. My martial sisters will eventually become stronger. I should live off them. She said mysteriously, by the way, I have another secret to tell you. What secret? The younger martial sisters stood side by side like cute kittens. They slightly raised their heads, and their eyes reflected the bright under the corner of Bai Lian's eye. Since it's a secret, of course, I can't say it here. It's not good to be heard by outsiders. Bai Lian glanced back at Si Yunshang. Outsider. Xiao Jin's and Su Yue captured the word keenly. Elder martial sister, is she? I picked her up from outside. At that time, she was being chased by the son of the White Tiger Hall's master. I saw that she was seriously injured, and it was not good to throw her out directly. The 2 younger martial sisters nodded repeatedly. It's really bad. How can the righteous martial sister Bai Lian not save innocent people's lives? This is the perfect martial sister Bai Lian in their hearts. Elder martial sister Bai Lian, why don't you let her live in my room? If she lives in your room, you won't have a good rest. Su Yue said coyly. Bai Lian laughed, it doesn't matter. I have other things to do. I won't live here anyway. Well. Bai Lian said to the jade rabbit again, help me watch her. I'll go out first. Ha. The jade rabbit nodded quickly. Great, martial sister Bai Lian's younger martial sisters are leaving here. A moment later, Bai Lian led the two younger martial sisters to leave the Aurora boat quietly. She was ready to let the two younger martial sisters experience the feeling of flying. 5 times faster than an ordinary cultivator's flying speed. Ordinary people's meridians are difficult to bear at such a speed. However, the two younger martial sisters are different from ordinary people. Naturally, there is no need to worry about them. In addition, Bai Lian also plans to remind younger martial sisters not to forget to practice when focusing on cultivation. Don't practice too much. You just need to be stronger than ordinary cultivators. Bai Lian was scared too. Life is too fragile. Just like Zhou Kai, before she was ready, he had been killed. If Zhou Kai exercised well, how could he die so fast? Bai Lian didn't want her martial sister to die so fast just like him. It was not until midnight when Bai Lian returned to her room. Before she opened the door, she found that Si Yunxiang had woken up. Well, her drug resistance is pretty good. Bai Lian sighed. But under the guard of the jade rabbit, Si Yunxiang didn't dare to move at all. She lay on the bed, looking at the ceiling. What Bai Lian didn't know was that Si Yunxiang was actually awake the whole time. Her cultivation method is very special. Her body was in a deep sleep, but her soul was still awake. Therefore, she heard all the conversations between Bai Lian and the saint, or between Bai Lian and the younger martial sisters. People are really complicated. In her opinion, Bai Lian, who is useless, also has an excellent side for her martial sisters. And from Bai Lian's words, she doesn't seem to plan to directly hand her over to the sect. Let's take one step at a time. Si Yunxiang heard the sound of an opening door. She looked away and saw Bai Lian coming in. But this time Bai Lian used her original appearance, and the in the corner of her right eye was extremely conspicuous. You. Si Yunxiang opened her mouth. A long-awaited name flashed through her mind. I'm Bai Lian. Bai Lian said in a cold tone. Volume 3. Chapter 9. Differential Treatment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Differential Treatment. Bai Lian. Si Yunxiang's mind was blank for a moment. In the past few years, she has heard the name countless times. Her lips gently pursed and then suddenly separated, spitting out the "bai" word from her throat. Si Yunxiang could guarantee that she was one of the people who knew Bai Lian best in the world. Bai Lian might not know herself better than she does. After seeing the appearance of the girl who rushed in, Si Yunxiang immediately came to an irrefutable conclusion, absolutely correct. This is Bai Lian, the natural saint of the Duxian sect. The in the corner of her eye emits a light blue light, like the morning star hanging upside down on the blue sea. That temperament is also like a pure white flower, as rumored, just one glance makes her can't help but want to hug her, sleep with her, and share their body temperature. Si Yunxiang, who had regained her mind, murmured, why did Fairy Bai Lian suddenly appear here? Bai Lian said calmly, I've heard what Chen Lu said about you. Chen Lu. Ah. Si Yunxiang remembered this name. This is what that vicious woman called herself. At that time, she thought that the vicious woman was retaliating against her enemy. Unexpectedly, her name was really Chen Lu. I was wrong. Si Yunxiang was a little ashamed. But think about it carefully, it's not her fault. If it weren't for that vicious woman's nonsense, she wouldn't mistakenly think she was lying. Chen Lu, her real identity is the elder martial sister of the Yunluo peak of the Duxian sect. Compare her with Bai Lian, the elder martial sister of the Qiongming peak. Forget it, forget it. Si Yunshang couldn't bear to continue the competition. Can we compare them? No. By any means, Chen Lu is no match for Bai Lian. Si Yunshang recovered from her emotion and said, Fairy Bai Lian, what do you want from me? Her voice was gentle and her attitude was kind, like a geisha who was talking with her guest. Bai Lian's body froze. You didn't have this attitude before. She clearly remembered that half a day ago, before she finished speaking, Si Yunshang would angrily stop her and sneer at her with all kinds of radical words. Oh, woman! Bai Lian said quietly, Miss Si, are you the successor of the Lingshu sect? She also asked this question not long ago, and Si Yunshang didn't answer it. Now, she answered without hesitation. Si Yunshang straightened her aching waist and said, yes and no. What do you mean? Si Yunshang bit her lips. After a long time, she said, Fairy Bai Lian, can I believe you? New task options appeared in front of Bai Lian's eyes. Task 1, you are just a demon woman, you have no right to bargain with me. Reward. Extinction Spirit Array, Task 2, you can trust me with everything, including yourself. Reward. A top-grade magic tool. 100 Ghost Scroll, Task 3, believe or not, it all depends on you. The truth I show is not necessarily what you want to see. Reward. Wooden puppet symbol, Bai Lian understood. Si Yunshang's road seems to be full of ups and downs, and a little carelessness will break her head and cause it to bleed. However, since I have already held the handle of the car, it's wrong to think about jumping off the car. What should be considered now is how to drive safely. Therefore, task 1 can be ignored. In a sense, the 100 Ghost Scroll is a good thing. It can be regarded as the most cost-effective magic tool in the game. You think it's a magic tool, but it's actually a spirit chi charging prop. Catch 100 female ghosts in, take them out and use them when you lack of spirit chi, and then you don't need to use medical pills to restore your spirit chi anymore. Unfortunately, the game maker was lazy and didn't draw battle scenes for these female ghosts. Bai Lian mused. When the younger martial sister's figure flashed in her mind, she immediately became righteous. Demon woman. Am I that kind of person? Ridiculous. Bai Lian said, believe it or not. Task completed. Wooden puppet symbol is delivered. Si Yunshang's heart was shaken by her words. Suddenly, she felt that Bai Lian was far away from herself. But now she is in such a situation that she can only rely on Bai Lian. She said, although I was having a good talk with Zhou Kai when Chen Lu found me, in fact, I was a sworn enemy of the Huaxin sect. Ah! This really shocked Bai Lian. Are you lying to me? Bai Lian murmured, I don't quite understand what you mean, Miss Si. Destroying the Huaxin sect is my leaving examination given by my master. Si Yunshang thought for a while before slowly saying. Bai Lian said, is there any contradiction between the Lingshu sect and the Huaxin sect? The Lingshu sect was stronger than the Duxian sect. Even if the Yaoqi Holy Mountain fought it alone, the Yaoqi Holy Mountain would suffer a lot. Si Yunshang shook her head, that's not true, otherwise, the Huaxin sect wouldn't have been able to survive until now. This is my own trial. With Miss C's strength. Because it's difficult, it is called the leaving examination. Fairy Bai Lian, you must have come to Yuhan Mountain to investigate the recent mass disappearance. I can tell you that this is what the Huaxin sect did. Si Yunshang said frankly. Bai Lian asked, what is their purpose? Si Yunshang answered without hesitation, wake up the ancient demon soul. Sure enough. The same is said in the game. After all, this is the background story written into the character information card. However, Bai Lian was not sure that Si Yunshang was not lying. The truth and falsehood are mixed, with more falsehood and less reality. She's the best at this kind of thing. This demon woman must be good at it too. Do you want to use us to extinguish the Huaxin sect? Cooperation is more important, Fairy Bai Lian, what do you think? That's right. Si Yinshang covered her mouth and laughed. Talking with Bai Lian made her feel very relaxed, and she even forgot that she was in danger, which was a comfortable experience that Chen Lu would never bring her. She has to admit that there is a gap in human wisdom. Compared with Bai Lian, Chen Lu seems to have just developed limbs and a simple mind. Fairy Bai Lian, you don't have to be wary of me. I'm all yours now. How can I calculate you in front of you? I won't take this bait. Bai Lian didn't let down her guard at all. In that case, why don't we try first? How do I try to do it? I'll tell you the location of the White Tiger Hall of the Huaxin sect. Okay. After hesitating for a while, Bai Lian decided to explore the White Tiger Hall at night. It was 1 o'clock. Somewhere outside the Aurora boat. Si Yinshang glanced at the jade rabbit squatting beside her. Before Bai Lian came back, she tried to escape from the Aurora boat, but the jade rabbit beat her to tears with its ears. Since then, she never dared to make small moves in front of the jade rabbit again. Alas! It's been almost a quarter of an hour. Why hasn't Fairy Bai Lian come yet? Is something wrong? Thinking like this, Si Yinshang suddenly heard a creak. Bai. Si Yinshang's expression changed, how is it you? What appeared in front of her was the 10 stars evil woman, Chen Lu. Bad luck. This attitude. Oh, woman. Chen Lu said unhappily, Martial sister Bai Lian can't go temporarily. She asked me to go with you instead of her. She wanted to piss off this bad woman now. Si Yinshang's face was full of disappointment, but she quickly adjusted her state, and spoke, it's getting late, let's go.